What if we told you some of the most powerful voices in R&B didn't fade away? They walked away by choice. Not because they were forgotten, not because the world stopped listening, but because fame stopped aligning with who they truly were. They had Grammys, platinum albums, and global recognition in their hands when they said no more. They stepped off the stage while still at the top. Why would anyone leave at that moment? Was it industry greed, image control, mental breakdowns, spiritual conflict? Or could it be that the price of fame was simply too expensive for the human soul to keep paying? Tonight on Secrets of Black Star, we uncover the untold truth behind 10 R&B stars who disappeared on purpose. If this episode changes the way you view fame forever, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to keep their voices alive. Lauryn Hill. Did walking away make her even more iconic? Lauryn Hill wasn't just a superstar. She was a cultural earthquake. After the Fugees era and the global explosion of the miseducation of Lauryn Hill, she could have easily become the next 10-album legacy machine of R&B dominance. She had Grammys, she had history-making stats, she had generational influence. But when the world demanded more, Lauryn did the opposite. She vanished. No sophomore studio album, no bigger era, no global takeover tour. People still argue, was it ego? Was she mentally done? Or did she recognize the industry would destroy her spirit if she stayed? Years later, Lauryn clarified. She didn't break. She protected herself. She refused to let the machine define her identity or dictate her purpose. She chose motherhood, spiritual alignment, and personal truth over unlimited commercial reward. Ironically, by disappearing, she became untouchable. Her first and only studio album still gets studied like scripture. New artists still call her blueprint. Fans still quote her like philosophy. Lauryn Hill may be the most powerful proof that walking away can elevate your myth more than staying and grinding for numbers. So the real question is she actually the greatest because she left? D'Angelo. Was leaving fame the only way to save his soul? When D'Angelo released Voodoo and the untitled How Does It Feel video became a moment in American culture, he wasn't just a gifted singer. He was suddenly turned into a global sex object. Women screamed for his body instead of his music. The industry loved that version of him. But D'Angelo hated becoming an image. His genius wasn't being heard. His body was being consumed. The weight of that shift slowly crushed him. Depression, alcohol, self-isolation, pressure to live up to a fantasy he never wanted. And in one of the most shocking R&B disappearances ever, he vanished for more than a decade. No promo, no rollout, no pop star theatrics, just silence and healing. When he finally returned with Black Messiah, it felt like a declaration. He would only come back when he felt spiritually ready. Not when Billboard wanted him, not when labels demanded it, not when fans pressured him. D'Angelo's story proves that leaving fame isn't failure. Sometimes it is the only way to stay alive. And maybe that's why his mystery only made him more legendary. So today, do we respect him more because he refused to let fame choose who he became? Tyrese Gibson. Did fame almost destroy him in public? Tyrese is one of the rare few who conquered both worlds, R&B and Hollywood. He went from Sweet Lady to blockbuster franchises like Fast and Furious and Transformers. He was winning. He looked like the definition of success. But behind the glossy headlines, Tyrese was mentally collapsing. His divorce, custody battle, and public meltdown created one of the most painful viral moments in celebrity history. The "What more do you want from me?" clip. It wasn't entertainment. It was a broken man being watched like a spectacle. That moment exposed something terrifying about fame. The public isn't compassionate. It feeds off your pain. Instead of letting the industry drain him dry, Tyrese stepped away. He focused on therapy. He reconnected spiritually. He worked to protect fatherhood and rebuild his own sense of identity outside celebrity consumption. When he returned with Black Rose, the music wasn't chasing charts. It was about emotional survival. Tyrese's walkaway story forces a bigger question on all of us. Do we even allow black men in entertainment to struggle without turning them into memes? And when a man chooses peace over profit, should we view that as weakness or as the ultimate victory? Chrisette Michele. Did one decision unfairly erase her entire career? Chrisette Michele had Grammys, respect, and commercial momentum. She wasn't just good. She was positioned to become a decade-long R&B fixture. Then one decision flipped her entire world, performing at Donald Trump's inauguration. Overnight, she became one of the most violently polarizing figures in R&B history. Social media attacked her. Artists cut ties. Her label dropped her. Bookings evaporated. And the same culture that once cheered her voice turned her into the enemy. The psychological impact was brutal. Miscarriage, depression, suicidal thoughts. But here's the uncomfortable conversation nobody wants to have. Was the punishment proportionate? Was she truly canceled for politics? Or was she the sacrificial lamb for everyone else's anger? Chrisette eventually walked away, not because she wasn't talented enough to continue, but because she had to rebuild her life emotionally and spiritually before she could breathe again. She now releases independently, with no hype machine, no mainstream forgiveness arc. And in a twisted way, walking away preserved what was left of her humanity. So America, be honest, did we destroy Chrisette Michele way harder than the crime actually deserved? India Ari. Is authenticity worth more than fame? India Ari never fit the industry mold, and she refused to. She had Grammys on the table, radio success, star power, and cultural impact with songs like Video and I Am Not My Hair. But behind the curtain, she was constantly being told her natural beauty wasn't marketable enough. Too natural, not sexy enough, not packaged enough for pop algorithm standards. Instead of bending, she rejected the machine. She took breaks. She prioritized spiritual alignment. She chose peace. She chose a purpose. She created it independently through Soulbird so she could define her own identity rather than allow marketing executives to engineer it. India Arie is one of the few who proved that an artist can leave the mainstream spotlight without losing cultural value. Her message still shapes self-worth for millions of black women today, even without constant chart dominance. So the question becomes, who actually won this battle? The industry that tried to mold her, or the woman who walked away unchanged? Sunshine Anderson. Is choosing motherhood over fame a revolutionary act? Sunshine Anderson came in swinging with "Heard It All Before," and everybody assumed she was about to become the next unstoppable R&B force. She had the voice, she had the energy, she had the edge. But fame speed wasn't what she wanted long term. After becoming a mother, Sunshine evaluated life from a completely different lens. Parenting wasn't a side mission, it became the priority. Instead of letting a label schedule her life, she chose to schedule her life as hers. She stepped back. She built stability. She lived grounded. In a world where the industry expects black female artists to sacrifice everything, body, identity, childhood milestones with their kids, Sunshine Anderson choosing family wasn't a weakness. It was a rebellion. She proved that stepping away from the spotlight could be an act of power, not surrender. And maybe that's why her story still resonates today. So tell the truth. Is motherhood the most underrated form of resistance in the celebrity world? Tweet. Can quiet healing be more radical than fame? Tweet exploded into the scene with Missy Elliott and Timbaland cosigns. Oops, oh my, became an anthem before TikTok-era anthems even existed. She was poised to be the next neo-soul superstar. But behind the soft voice and gentle aura, she was emotionally suffocating. Image expectations, pressure to fit industry desirability, anxiety, depression. The machine wanted a persona that didn't match who she really was. So she did the unthinkable. She stepped back. She retreated into faith, family, and interior healing. Years later, she returned with Charlene, not to chase trends, but to sing truthfully again. Tweets remind us that the most radical form of self-protection isn't the clapback, the interview, or the media war. It's disappearing before you lose yourself completely. So here's the question. In a world addicted to overexposure, is silence the new form of artistic power? Maxwell. Does mystery create a stronger legacy than constant exposure? Maxwell is proof that fame doesn't have to be non-stop output to be impactful. After dominating Neo Soul with Hang Sweet Plus Embrya Plus Now, he disappeared for nearly 8 years. No rollout, no oversharing, no constant content. The industry couldn't understand why someone this gifted would walk away while at peak momentum. But Maxwell wasn't running from music. He was protecting music. By the time he returned with Black Summer's Night, he didn't just come back. He came back sharper, clearer, more intentional. That comeback only cemented his legacy more. Maxwell built value by not being available 24/7. He proved art can age like wine if the artist protects their space to evolve privately. Today, Maxwell is one of the only modern R&B legends whose mystery is part of his brand. So, do you need constant fame to be iconic? Or is icon status actually built when people never get enough access? Bilal. Did the industry reject him, or did he reject the industry first? Bilal wasn't built to be mainstream. He was built to be groundbreaking. His voice operated outside the algorithm. His sophomore album, Love for Sale, should have been his major breakout. Instead, the label shelved it for being too experimental, the exact thing that made Bilal extraordinary. But rather than beg the system to validate him, he walked away from the major structure completely. He built cult respect. He built underground royalty. He built independence. His fan base is the kind that studies lyrics like scripture, not the kind that only shows up during viral trends. Bilal didn't disappear. He transcended commerce. And maybe that's the most punk rock thing an R&B artist can ever do. So the real question, who's actually freer? The superstar chained to a label, or the artist who refuses to let capitalism define his worth? Sananda Maitreya, formerly Terence Trent D'Arby, did he become more free when he killed his old name? Terence Trent D'Arby came into the industry like a nuclear missile. Grammys, multi-million sales, instant comparison to Prince. He wasn't rising, he was detonating. But fame suffocated him. So he did something no R&B star has ever done at that scale. He announced that Terence Trent D'Arby was dead. He became Sananda Maitreya, not as a stage name, as a spiritual resurrection. He left America. He moved to Europe. He built his own studio. He created conceptual music unconcerned with chart acceptance. The industry calls that career suicide. But what if it was actually freedom? What if destroying the persona that everyone else worshipped is the most courageous artistic move ever made? Sananda Maitreya is proof that sometimes the only way to reclaim yourself is to destroy who the world thinks you are first. What these 10 artists taught us is simple. Fame is not fulfillment. You can have Grammys, chart records, magazine covers, global fans, and still be empty inside. Walking away wasn't a failure. It was courage. It was self-definition. It was humans choosing mental peace, spiritual safety, emotional protection, motherhood, identity, healing, and truth. Overperforming for a system that only loves you when you're profitable. These stories should challenge how we define success in America. Maybe winning is not staying in the spotlight at all costs. Maybe it's knowing when to leave before the spotlight destroys you. Purpose matters more than pressure. Integrity matters more than applause. And longevity matters more than viral moments. So now it's your turn to reflect. Which journey changed your perspective the most? And do you think walking away can be more powerful than staying? Drop your answer below.